Hey, this is Wesley Guan, and so this is the AP Chemistry Equilibrium lab that we just did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the lab and then I'll move on and explain the slides that I helped work on or I worked on. So for the purpose of this lab is to investigate equilibrium shifts related to Le Chatelier's principle. And what we did was we essentially just got a bunch of indicators and we created a bunch of solutions of different colors based on our knowledge that different pH levels will result in a different color. And using that, we could construct a rainbow towards the end after all solutions were created. So for the pre-lab questions, for number 1, iodine is only sparingly soluble in water. In the presence of potassium iodide, a source of iodide ions, reacts to form triiodide ions. So use Le Chatelier's principle to explain why the solubility of iodine in water increases as the concentration of potassium iodide increases. So what we answered was adding more potassium iodide would cause the equilibrium to shift right, which would result in more I2, which was aqueous, to be produced. Number 2, although both nitrogen and oxygen gas are naturally present in the air we breathe, high levels of nitrogen monoxide and nitrogen dioxide in the atmosphere occur mainly in regions with large automobile or power plant emissions. For number A, it says use Le Chatelier's principle to explain why the concentration of NO at equilibrium increases when the reaction takes place at higher temperatures. We responded saying since the reaction is endothermic, which means that heat is a reactant, the higher temperatures would result in a shift right, which would increase the rate of the forward reaction, thereby increasing the products. For B, it says, use Le Chatelier's principle to predict whether the concentration of NO at equilibrium should increase when the reaction takes place at higher pressures. So we restated that when the pressure increases, Le Chatelier's principles would state that equilibrium would shift toward the side with less moles of gas. In this case, it's the products because of the reaction. This would mean that more NO would be produced, causing the concentration of nitrogen monoxide to increase. So this is investigation A with the blue solution. This is investigation B with light blue. This is C with the pink/purple. And this is investigation D. This is E. And this is our final result where we just placed everything in order as like a rainbow. And so these are the post-lab questions. So for number 1, it reads, write the balanced chemical equation including a heat term for the synthesis of ammonia. So this is a reaction right here. And since we know that heat is on the product side because the reaction is exothermic based on the graph that was provided. For number 2, it asks, based on the results above, explain the effective temperature on the equilibrium position of the reaction. We responded by saying since the reaction is exothermic, decreasing the temperature would cause a shift right, while increasing it would cause a shift left. For number 3, it asks, explain the effect of pressure on the equilibrium position for the reaction. And so as pressure increases, the equilibrium would shift right, and as the pressure decreases, the equilibrium would shift left. This is based on Le Chatelier's principle. For number 4, it asks the optimal conditions to synthesize ammonia are high pressures and low temperatures. However, each factor comes with a drawback. High pressures require strong pipework and hardware, and at lower pressures the reaction is slow. In order to get high yields of ammonia at lower pressures and higher temperatures, ammonia is removed from the system as it is formed. Use Le Chatelier's principle to explain why this is effective. So we responded by saying removing ammonia decreases the ammonia concentration, which would result in the equilibrium shifting right to rebalance the equation. This causes the forward reaction rate to increase, meaning that more ammonia would be yielded. So for the error analysis, there was a couple things that may have affected the accuracy of our results. So the first part was unclean test tubes, where we didn't thoroughly wash them enough with DI water. The second was inaccurate measurements, as we were just kind of eyeballing the measurements. And the third, which I will explain a little bit, is the contamination of equipment. I'm not talking about the test tubes, but I'm mainly talking about the indicator bottles that was given to us, as we would find out later on during the experiment that apparently some of the other indicator had gone onto the tip, which impacted our results a lot.